Kara's Q is sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.
Helping you lead a healthier life. This is Kara's Cures.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kara's Cures show and podcast, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness with credible sources. Thanks for being here. And we're going to talk about fixing your metabolism. It is not in your imagination. Your metabolism slows down as we age, and I have board-certified health coach Debbie Wright, who has spent years studying this, and I dare say she's sort of beat the system because you figured it out. You figured it out, and so you're someone that I go to and have worked with of like, all right, what's happening? Because is it true that it's not in our head when we think what used to work for us to lose some pounds just doesn't work?
No, it's actually science and biology. As we get older, we lose lean muscle mass. Our metabolism slows down. Our hormones are in a crazy whirlwind. We lose estrogen, which estrogen's primary role is to redistribute fat. So fat becomes stored in it looks much different as we get older.
Yeah, it starts coming around the middle.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, a lot of, you'll see on your feeds like, oh, just this, that, the other, you know, get rid of your belly fat after 50 or this. I mean, for a lot of people, they're not eating badly.
Right.
They are not just sitting on the couch all day.
Right.
And yet they're noticing these changes, even though they haven't changed. The bottom line is we have to change what we do if we want to fix our metabolism.
Exactly. And the good news is it is fixable, and we just have to focus on the right things. And we hear a lot about protein and weightlifting. The reality is we are losing lean muscle mass. We begin losing it at age 30. When we turn 50, it greatly accelerates. So when you lose lean muscle mass, you also reset that basal metabolic rate. So that means, you know, when we're at rest, we're still burning calories. If we have less muscle, we're burning fewer calories.
Yes.
So it really is important. You hear weightlifting, resistance training, body weight exercises. Those are actually the things that really can bring muscle mass back and improve that whole redistribution of fat and bring that metabolic rate back up.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, that's number one, the loss of muscle mass. But,
yeah,
you know, so if you were growing up like I did in the 90s, all you ever heard about was cardio.
Yes.
So if you haven't gotten the memo yet, just doing cardio is not right, especially for women over the age of 40. You actually need to work out much less time. I think that's good. But we need to be doing strength training, and we don't have to fear about getting big.
Exactly. So it's really an emphasis on strength training, building that muscle, increasing that lean muscle mass is how you combat those aging symptoms of weight gain and all the things that we're trying to combat. So it definitely is strength training. Cardio is important for maintaining, you know, a hormonal balance, but cardio is king is not really, you know, applicable as we go through these ages. It's definitely more weight-based, and weight training and resistance and body weight exercises also very effective.
Okay, so that would mean push-ups, squats,
deadlifts,
you know,
bands, like working out with the bands, any of that resistance.
I enjoy going to the gym, doing a HIIT class, or we actually are very fortunate. We have a trainer come here a little bit, and he pushes us harder than we normally would.
That's great.
For just a half an hour with a lot of strength training. And it's definitely more than I would do on my own, because when you have someone and you're in a group, I feel more accountable. But if you're just getting started with this and feeling overwhelmed, how many days a week of strength training should you be doing, and what should that look like?
So strength training, they're saying, you know, there's a lot of science around now that also supports, even after age 50, we can add muscle. So you can continue to build and add muscle. They say 2 to 4 times a week, and just have a variety of all those things. And like you said, gone are the days where we think, oh my gosh, I have to go into the gym and kill it. I have to run all these miles. I have to lift all this weight. I have to be exhausted. No, you just have to be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing, consistency.
Consistency beats intensity.
Exactly, exactly.
So when we're talking about why you're doing this is this is sort of like if you equate it to money, it's your compound interest, right?
Yes.
If you know that, okay, I'm saving money for retirement and I'm investing it because I want it to keep growing while I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
That's what muscle building is that we build muscle so that you literally burn calories more when you're sleeping.
Right. So there's exactly. So we want our money working for us, right? We want our weight training to be working for us while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing. So that basal metabolic rate, that amount of calorie that you're burning at rest, that slows down as we lose lean muscle mass. So by increasing and growing the muscle mass, you're going to increase your resting metabolic rate.
Okay.
So it's really that important. You are changing your biology.
So it's also easier
Yes.
for men.
Always.
It doesn't mean that men are going to benefit from what we're saying, but men have more muscle, so they just naturally burn more as they get older. They don't lose as much, or they start out with a lot more. I
think they start out as a lot more, and muscle does have memory. So if you worked out very much when you were younger, and then we go through kids and we go through all the changes of our bodies, you do come back to weightlifting, and there is a certain muscle memory, which I think guys have a big advantage because they typically have more muscle earlier on.
And they probably did a lot of weightlifting in their teens and 20s.
And the pull-ups and the things that we don't historically work on, as women, push-ups and pull-ups and body weight exercises. But it's exciting because we can impact and increase our lean muscle mass. So we don't have to settle for, it's menopause, we're getting older, everything, my metabolism slows down, no. You don't have to settle for that because by doing the right things, and that's where we just need to dial in a little bit.
Yeah. So the other thing is, it's not just about looking great in your bathing suit.
Yes.
I know we all want that, but it is about I look at my mom who is on a walker in her 80s. And so when we're doing those squats and we're doing strength training now that the generations before us didn't do, we are preventing ourselves from losing mobility. I had a trainer I interviewed once who said, if you can do a walking lunge, you'll always be able to walk. So I think that motivates me. I hope maybe it motivates some people watching that we're not just doing it to have a skinny waist.
Exactly. And you and I have talked a lot about this. I know for many of us, we go through menopause, we go through these changes, and it seems like one day we just look at ourselves and we wonder what change. It seemingly has happened overnight, but the reality is it's normal, it's natural. We're losing muscle mass, our hormones are shifting, fat is redistributing. So, okay, now what are the tools? And knowing what we know now and incorporating more of these strength-based exercises and protein.
Yes, so we're going to start about that. So
we can offset the hip stuff.
Yes. Okay, so we talked a lot about working out, and it doesn't have to be for long periods of time, but just even getting some weights, to keep in your house. I actually keep one in my bathroom, and then it reminds me, just can you pop out 10 squats after a shower? Even if you didn't get a chance to go work out.
Movement throughout the day has also proven to be great.
Right, and so one of the things, I wear an Oura ring, and I know you are a big fan of them, and the reason I got this was to be honest about my movement, because I walk around the studio all day long. I almost never sit, and I was shocked that I really wasn't moving that much according to what it said. I'm like, I'm on my feet all day, but it's not really the kind of movement. I mean, our ancestors would have walked for miles every day to go get something or do something. And, me just trotting around this little studio. So I think, having any awareness when we talk, before we get into what else we can do with food and blood testing, we've talked about strength training. What about just walking or regular movement? What's your aim? I've heard 10,000 steps. What if you want to lose?
Well, if you want to lose, you want to really watch that zone 2. They say 30 minutes in zone 2 right now is sort of that sweet spot. You want to get your heart rate up a little without,
Zone 2 is your heart rate.
Your heart rate.
And that would be like you're a little out of breath?
Yeah, a little bit, but not much. Like a little faster than a walk. Like you said, I think it's really eye-opening when you
start... Not strolling around the studio.
Yeah, exactly. But that is better than sitting all day. So we have different degrees of what we think we're doing and, what the true impact really is. So the wearables are a really great eye-opener.
Because what you measure, you can change.
Exactly.
Instead of thinking, gosh, I had the most active day.
I know.
I don't need to do anything. Yes. And then you look at your ring later on, you're like, I did not. It says I moved 3,000 steps.
What did they say? You can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah, so the measuring is good. I like the ring better because I don't like wearing an Apple Watch, but whatever, just
whatever
some sort
tool
of track.
you use. Yeah.
Buy a $10 pedometer and just see how you're going.
Just see how you're doing. More steps, the better. 10,000 is a great gauge. And that zone 2, if you can somehow figure out with technology, you know, are you getting into those zones a little bit more often? That's better.
Are the steps in addition to working out?
You want to have constant movement, right? So we're always, you know, we're meant to be moving. We're not meant to be sitting. What do they say? Sitting is the new smoking, right? We are not, back to our ancestors, we're not designed to sit our human biology for 8 hours a day. And that's where it's really exciting now with the studies around like those exercise snacks. So every 45 minutes, even if you have a job where you're sitting all day long, you get up and you do 10 squats.
Yes,
you know,
every 45
minutes.
At the Great Day Pod, like let's on the hour.
Yes.
And you know, especially if you're busy, I know so many of us are busy, but anybody can work into saying to yourself, every time I go to the bathroom, I'm going to remind myself to get a drink of water and do 10 squats or something like that.
Right.
So another thing that changes as we grow older, and this is not meaning that just that you're diabetic, although many of you might be, or pre-diabetic, the numbers are huge, but our insulin sensitivity.
Yes.
And the insulin controls fat storage.
Yes.
So as I did deeper blood work, I'm not pre-diabetic. I don't have diabetes, none of those things. But my insulin sensitivity is not good. I mean, it's showing that I'm carb intolerant, according to a functional doctor.
Yes.
So let's talk about insulin sensitivity. How do you measure it and how do you fix it?
Well, I also share that lovely genetic makeup where I am sensitive to carbs as well. So it is interesting to do a genomic study if you ever are interested in doing that to see what you're genetically wired to do. But lifestyle can affect that. So here's the thing, when your hormones during this period of our life are going crazy and we're losing estrogen, insulin sensitivity also does decrease just because of the reduction of estrogen.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is a natural thing, even though you're not it can be, right?
Right.
And then throw in there an extra sensitivity to carbohydrates. So one of the most powerful tools I think that you can wear now, and they're so easy to get, are the little portable continuous glucose monitors that you can, you know, go online. There's several companies, and you can wear one for just 2 weeks, and it's really affordable. And you can play with the meals that you're eating, and you can see how sensitive you are to certain meals.
Yes.
I think overall for everyone, the best way to keep your insulin kind of at an even level is eating your fiber first. So eat your salad first, eat your vegetables first, then eat your protein, then eat your carbs.
Yes.
So by eating the fiber and
have
the
your
veggies
salad first, then your chicken, and then your rice
Roll
or a
if you
little bit of
want.
dessert. Even just a good rule: don't have dessert on an empty stomach. That's when you're talking about it's going to spike your insulin, and your body goes ding, ding, ding.
Yes,
store fat.
Store fat. So little trick, you know, when you're at restaurants too, they
first
serve
thing
you
to do is put bread out.
It's like, no, there's a reason for it. So like that's one of the biggest tips I give women.
Tell them don't bring the bread.
Don't bring the bread, or if you want to still enjoy the bread, just enjoy it after the salad and the meat.
Same with wine, right? You shouldn't technically have a glass
Yes.
of wine before anything because that's sugar.
And I'm the woman that sits at the bar and I stare at my wine until my salad is over.
Really? You
yes,
do?
I do.
So I will share with our audience that because you and I did a story a couple of years ago, actually, and I want to share with you that Debbie Wright has a board-certified health coach. So you've been through extensive training. A lot of people call themselves a health coach, but
no, I've been 5 years of schooling.
5 years of schooling, and what they do is they really help you kind of set up habits that are going to matter.
Yes.
So I did the glucose monitor with you. We did it as a story. And one day I was so hungry, I went down to the little market here and I got lunch for 2 days, which I often do so I don't have to go out both days.
Right.
I got 2 chicken breasts and a bag of grapes because I was just going to have a quick thing, you know.
Right.
I ate very quickly at the studio.
Yes.
And I was so hungry, I ate the grapes on the way back. Grapes are good for you. And then I had the chicken. Yeah. And the glucose monitor was like, ding, ding, ding. It was like really way up, you know. The next day, I had the exact same meal, but I was already in the studio. So I had the chicken first, the grape second, no spike. And so it was the exact same food, the exact same calories.
Just a different order.
But my body technically was in fat storing mode when I spiked my insulin.
Yeah.
So calories, not that they don't matter, but they are not the only thing.
They aren't the only thing. The order with how you eat your food also matters how your body uses it as fuel, right? When we think about food, it is fuel for our bodies. Now, that goes back to more muscle. When we're losing lean muscle, we can build more muscle. More muscle is what burns calories, right? So you want to be sure you're feeding the muscle you're building in your body really good whole food. So it isn't even about a diet per se, it's about eating whole foods, and then the nuance of eating in that order really in and of itself is a worthy experiment.
So protein.
Yes.
We're hearing lots of that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of controversy about how much this, that, whatever. So when we're talking about protein, we're not talking about go and eat, a big fatty burger. We're talking about fish, chicken, lean, maybe grass-fed beef. You still want high quality protein.
You do.
But most women are not eating enough. Is that right?
That is true. And that's another one of those reality checks. When I'm working with my clients and talking with friends, every woman struggles with, oh my gosh, I hit this age and I don't know what's happened in my whole body, and I know more protein and more working out. What do I do? Just start, right? Start doing some body exercises, start doing some weights, and then start intentionally having more protein, because protein supports muscle. Protein supports the entire system, your entire metabolism. Your metabolism is like a bustling city that never sleeps. Like, there's all the mechanisms, right? There's the construction company that is tearing things down and building it up. There's the power plants that support, and give the energy. So your metabolism is at the center of your whole body and all the functions. So having good protein, and start with breakfast. They say 90 to 100 grams. I think, you see different per pound. I just say, with all that I've studied and all the doctors that I listen to, it's between 90 and 120 for women on average.
Ideally, they're saying, 1 gram for your ideal body weight.
Yes.
But for some women, that might be 130 grams or something, and that's hard.
It can be hard.
So even just starting with, are you having protein at every meal? Are you getting up and just having like a piece of toast with a little cream cheese?
Right.
Or a little peanut butter? That's another thing. Peanut butter does have some protein in, but it's really more of fat, right?
Right,
so,
exactly.
So, eggs in the morning, eggs and veggies, salad with grilled chicken. Don't be afraid of high quality fat, right? That keeps you full.
Fat.
Avocado, olive oil. Sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, that's fat, but it'll keep you full longer.
Yeah, so you really just want to focus on good whole foods, great sources of meat, fibrous vegetables, some fruit in there for sure. And overall, that's what's going to feed and support your body best and help to increase that lean, muscle mass, and to boost that basal metabolic rate. That's what we want. We want to get back up to burning more calories while we're at rest. And protein feeds muscles. Muscles burn more calories than fat.
Yes. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors. When we come back, I want to ask you about the right kind of testing that women should be asking for.
Okay.
And how do we find a doctor who knows all this?
All right.
Let's listen from our sponsor, and we'll come right back.
Struggling with gambling? Wheeler Health's Better Choice program offers personalized support and treatment to help you regain control. Visit WheelerHealth.org to learn more and take the first step towards recovery today.
Back with board-certified health coach Debbie Wright, and she is a board-certified health coach. As we were saying, we're talking about how to fix your metabolism. So we've talked about weight training. Don't just do your cardio. Don't just walk all the time. I mean, even if walking's great, but we need to add some weights. Even walking with a weighted vest, that's become a new way of doing it.
Right.
Doesn't have to be hours a day, just needs to be keeping those muscles. The muscles are our investment in ourselves. Then we're talking about food, and I want to know, we talked about, I've had blood testing done, you've had some advanced testing. Yes. A lot of women are wondering, well, my regular doctor just does my regular test. What do we do about that?
So, our metabolism slows down. That's what we're talking about, right? And we're talking about there is a real opportunity, and it's a reality that you can turn it back up. So we don't have to settle for this midlife anything. We can dial that metabolism back up. And how do we do that? Well, we build muscle, because we know part of the reason why we are slowing down is because we're losing lean muscle mass. So that's number one, build the muscle. Number two, estrogen takes a huge nosedive as we age. And what does that do? That redistributes fat. That's its primary role. We see it popping out all these places we never have. So the first number one thing is to get a hormone panel done. So I would go to your regular doctor and ask them if they can run a hormone panel just to get a full overview of what your hormones look like right now during a time in our life where hormones are all over the place and they're shifting. Find out where you are with your hormones and get on some sort of protocol to get the hormones sort of working in unison. So I just had an experience, and it still happens. Start with your immediate doctors. And one of my clients just got back to me and said, Debbie, I asked her, and she said, no, we don't need to do that. You're just in metabolism. You're just in menopause. So now that didn't...
There was the belief in traditional MDs. We had that study that now we know has been aired. I've done whole shows on this about hormone replacement therapy. It was, for a long time, women stopped taking hormones.
Right.
And whether or not you choose to take them or not, that study was flawed. So some women may do some hormone replacement therapy, but a traditional doc often says they go by symptoms, not by blood. I believe that's starting to change, but it's not in the regular genre yet. There are more specialized, or a functional doctor or a naturopathic doctor you could ask. You can even order them on your own, like get the Dutch test.
You can absolutely go online. There's so many companies now providing blood work, but I just always feel like the first entry for people just starting to get curious, where they're not losing weight, they're eating the protein, they're working out, and they're just not seeing any difference, and they're frustrated. I think the first level of entry is to get your hormone testing done.
Yeah.
Start with your regular doctor first, and just kind of gauge that and see where you're at. And then if you aren't getting the information,
check your thyroid, which often is checked at your regular appointment.
Yes.
But your thyroid really affects your metabolism, so you just want to make sure you don't have a thyroid problem.
Exactly. And one of the deficiencies, interestingly enough, that affects thyroid is iodine, which a lot of us now, I find that deficiency even with my own family and with my clients. If you ever have your iodine tested, and that directly correlates to thyroid. Thyroid needs iodine, but we're living in a world of Himalayan sea salt and all this.
It came from like regular table salt that a lot of people are afraid to eat.
No one's having anymore. So it's no wonder we're all iodine deficient. So that's an interesting correlation and could be to thyroid. But yeah, start with your regular doctor, get your hormones done. But now there are all kinds of great resources online. Dr. Hyman, Functional Health. There's all kinds. And if you need any help navigating it, you can get resource and information online.
Well, and actually we can follow you at Debbie Allen Wright on Instagram.
Yes.
I do recommend following Dr. Mark Hyman, who is sort of the father of functional medicine. He's been Cleveland Clinic trained. Also, there's a great, if you're interested in insulin sensitivity, which we just talked about, the Glucose Goddess has a lot of great tips. She really simplifies what you were talking about, the eating order. You are a board certified health coach. If somebody wants to work with you one-on-one, you can advise them testing and help them with that as well.
I can help navigate. I kind of think of myself as a navigator around this whole, like, where do I begin? I'm just feeling like I should see different results from what I'm doing. I'm doing all the things I'm hearing, but nothing's changing. So where do I start?
Okay, so we're also going to talk about changes in appetite and nutrition. I will say in our final 5 minutes, we have had Dr. Jennifer Stagg on the show, and she will tell you that what a lot of people miss is our needs change. We do not need to eat as much as we did when we were younger.
I know.
And so I don't necessarily think my appetite changes, but our needs have changed.
Our needs have changed, and I bring it back to sleep. We
need to sleep.
We need to sleep, because what happens when we're sleep deprived? The hunger hormones have different signaling, and that's why it's harder to have, that drive to eat really good things, right? When we're sleep deprived, we want more carbs, we want more comfort food. So getting your sleep right will also help you to stay on track with eating a really whole food diet and feeling full and feeling satiated. And then I would just add in, our needs have changed. We, more times than not, are eating more. Our portion sizes are still way out of control. I mean, I fall victim.
American plates, if you have ever traveled, you go to Europe and they give these tiny little plates. And even, like a McDonald's Happy Meal, the equivalent of the Happy Meal, that used to be the adult meal when it opened in the 50s. That was what they gave you.
So interesting, yes.
So we know we're eating less, but as we wrap this up, the bottom line is, you're not crazy. Your metabolism has shifted.
Yes.
But there are real things you can do that don't cost a lot of money.
Yes.
To shift it.
Yes. And I would say, before anything else, really focus on doing more, push-ups and, body weight exercises, and start weightlifting. And any little bit will make a difference. Start incorporating more protein, and then eating your meals in that order, with the vegetables, the fibrous foods first, then the protein. And then if you have a carb, have that good carb at the end. Don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. Get a good night's rest. And the other really important thing there.
Yeah, we didn't talk about fasting. In general, not eating after dinner and not eating again until breakfast, say not eating from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. really isn't a fast. That's just how we're supposed to eat.
That's how we're, right.
For some people, I'm not someone who can really do it very well. I get too shaky in the morning, and I know that I think everyone's different, but we shouldn't be eating late at night.
We shouldn't be eating late at night, and here's why, and it makes sense, right? When you go to bed, your body is restoring. You're getting REM and deep sleep. Your body has a job to do while it's at rest. If you eat too late, if you have a drink too late, your body now is busy it's putting resources into digestion versus sleep recovery.
Yeah.
So it really does have an impact.
Don't overwork. If you're the CEO, don't overwork the employees, which would be yourselves.
Exactly. Let them do their job. Leave them alone.
I have heard if you're really hungry and you can't fall asleep, which sometimes gets in the way of sleep too, a little bit of an apple slice like a couple apple slices won't really affect anything. And so, or maybe a little Greek yogurt, something small that isn't going to require a lot of tax. Because sometimes you wake up because you're hungry if your blood sugar goes too low.
Right, and everybody's different. There's obviously nuances there as a general rule.
So if you're going to do anything, quit eating carbs with every meal. Like if you're having oatmeal for breakfast and a sandwich for lunch and pasta for dinner, that's too many for someone who's getting a little older. It's okay for my son, but not okay for me, which seemed like, okay, what's the big deal? I had some whole grain toast and I had a turkey sandwich and then I had a little rice. Like, try to limit the grains and carbs to definitely no more than a 1-to-1 ratio. Like make sure if you're having any kind of carb, you're balancing that with a protein. And a healthy fat. Mm-hmm. So these are all things to learn. Anywhere else as we close out that you want people to know, things to do in this final minute, besides follow Debbie at Debbie.
Oh, thank you.
At Debbie Allen Wright on Instagram.
That's right. I think just to understand that this is our biology, it is a real thing. It does happen to everybody, and also know that there are ways to combat what is naturally happening, and we can defy this slow metabolism when we can get that metabolism back like we had when we were younger.
Yes. Okay. Well, and I'll just say quickly before we close, I know some people might be on weight loss drugs, and that's fine. However, hopefully you know that you've talked to your doctor that eating that protein and doing the strength training is just as important, if not more so, because it will help you lose weight because you're not very hungry, but you have to eat the protein to maintain the muscle. Otherwise, the risk of those drugs is losing the muscle.
Exactly. And we do need muscle.
Yes, we need muscle.
We need muscles.
Muscle is your money.
I like that.
Your body's money. Okay,
yes.
Thank you for being here. I hope you all have a great day and be well. If you're listening on the podcast, please like and subscribe and continue to watch the TV show. It's always streaming, Kara's Cures on WFSB+.
Kara's Cures, sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.